So the market report is out for the month of May. What we are seeing, inventory is up by over 50% year over year, and the buyers, they have pretty much vanished from this market. In fact, this month of May is one of the slowest we have seen in years, and yet the prices are holding fairly steady overall. So what's really going on in the Kitchener-Waterloo real estate market? We are gonna break it all down right here for you. I'm gonna share my screen and we're gonna go deeper into this market update that just came out. So stay tuned and let's get right into it. All right, so I'm gonna get straight into it. You can see my screen by now, and you can see I have the Regional Real Estate Board website pulled up here. And I will in fact link this in the description in case you wanna dive in yourself. There are some great resources available on this very website, especially if you're looking to buy or sell, or even if you just want to keep your fingers on the pulse to see what's happening around you in the real estate market, this could be a great resource. So let's dive straight into it. You can see the headline. It basically paints the picture that we, just ended that last video from the last month for the market update. We ended on this note, basically. Economic uncertainty tempers Waterloo region's real estate market despite growing inventory. I think we talked about it in the last month's market update. That's basically what's holding the buyers off, despite sellers coming in herds into the market. Now, take it further. In May, total of 675 homes were sold. That's a very low number if you think how many homes came into the market for the very same months. So that's about, just over 9% down compared to same period last year, which will be May of 2024. But if you were to compare with the previous 10 years average, there is, a considerable decline of 26.2%. So, you can see there is a, pattern being developed here. Even if you look at the market report from last month, the 10-year average was down by about well over 20%. So that stayed consistent for this month. We have no good news, right, that came out of the market that would, change the buyer sentiments. So as it stands, market is more or less above the same, very cold, even with home prices. So let's look at this remarks from the, I think the board person. Even with home prices on the decline, the cloud of uncertainty looms over economy, largely fueled by, we all know, tariff, the job market. I talked about it in my last update. And, the lingering concern about the job security. So this environment is causing potential buyer to hesitate. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you get the idea. We are all on the same page and we can all agree it's no longer the rates or anything else that's holding the buyers off. It's just the broader economic conditions that's keeping them on the fence. Let's look into the numbers itself. We saw about 675, right? Yeah, 675 homes sold, out of which we had mostly detached home, a big chunk, which is, if you look at the sales, which is still down about 8.5% roughly compared to May of last year. Only a small fraction of townhomes sold, 132. And they did include 67 condo units, which is down by 20% compared to the same period last year. Now that's a massive decline. If you are a condo owner, there is excess inventory in the market currently. And, with the growing, fears around the condo market and how much more supply we have flowing in the market, with a lot of them coming due for closing into this year later and the first half of next year, we are only going to fuel more supply while there is not enough demand to absorb that excess inventory. We did have a small amount of semis. Just keep in mind, we don't have a lot of semis in KWC, but this would typically be the smallest number in terms of sales, but still worth noting it's down by 18.6%. Now, average sales price did, it was for all homes. That includes basically virtually every type of home that we talked about. Average price was 789,154, just under 800,000, which is a 3.6% decrease compared to May of, last year. But it is a decline of about, 0.8 compared to April, basically the previous month. I have continuously, and I continue to caution you guys not to look at the average or the median sales price, but to rather be guided by the HPI tool. So they have basically articulated the average prices for each type of home and how it changed month over month as well as the year over year. I'm not too concerned about this number because, like I said, even in the short run, and that includes 1 year, it's not going to paint a true picture of where the prices are heading. What you want to be guided by is this home price index tool, which you can actually access the tool itself and filter things down. But this, you can see year over year change, especially in Kitchener-Waterloo. Overall composite, which includes all three of this, single family, townhomes, and apartments, down by prices, down by 6.6%. Single family itself down by 4.5%. Townhouses lost quite a bit of value, about just under 8%, and apartments the most, about 10%. And it corresponds well with the inventory, like the supply for each of this category. As we go further, you will see like single family homes, like the months of inventory for each type of homes. Single family are the least, townhomes are slightly more than single family, and apartments and condos have the most inventory. So it corresponds well to this declines that you see. It kind of correlates in a way. So in the long run, let's see what this pans out into as we head into we are pretty much at the first half of this year, towards the end of it. And it'll be very interesting to see how things pan out for the second half of this year. But let's go further. Right now, we are seeing a market that's different from the frenzied market of a few years ago. But that's a good thing for buyers who have more room to breathe. And I honestly, I think I had mentioned it towards the end of my previous market update that now can be a good time for buyers if they're ready, right? If they're ready financially, they're ready as a family, that it is the right thing for them to make a move. Then, honestly, there are some not just great deals out there, but they can take their time, do their due diligence. Market is very much forgiving to buyer, but it's not as much forgiving to the sellers. So even though you may call it like a balanced market, which I tend to disagree at this point, it's more like a buyer's market. But if you look at that balance, guess what? The balance is skewed towards the buyers. They are more in control than that of the sellers. And with every month passing, we have more inventory that's flooding into the market. So that gives more and more control to the buyers. So that's what we are seeing, at least for the past 3 months at least. There were 1,663 new listings added, while we just had shy of 700 listings that sold. So we talk about the sales to new listing ratio, and that's well under 50% at this point. And somewhere around 40 and under is considered buyer's market. So, you can even calculator, you can even pull it up, like say sales, we had 675 dividing by new listings, 1,663. And there goes your sales to new listing ratio, just around 40. So like I said just now, market is basically skewed towards the buyers. It's not as much forgiving to sellers who are still playing around with the price, having those unrealistic expectation about their home, and they are still comparing with what was happening back in 21 and 22. So that those days are long gone, and I don't see them coming back anytime soon back in this market. And honestly, this is the healthy market. This is what I call the normal market condition. We don't want either a buyer's or a seller's market, to be honest. This is perfect because buyers have their own way. They have their time, to do their due diligence, everything else. And sellers have, they're getting reasonable price. I'm not saying they have to let go of a lot. But yeah, if you are someone who has purchased in last 3 years or any time between, say, 21 to now, well, you might see some massive losses if you're selling and out in this market because, you did unfortunately buy at the peak and now selling at a low. But someone who bought, say, 2010 or 2015, for them, it's pretty much a balanced market. So average time to sell a home in May was 24 days, which was the same in previous months. So that has not changed. And in May of last year, however, it took, I had mentioned in my previous video as well, typically during the spring to summer season, spring to fall almost, say March to September, those 6 to 7 months, we see average days on market to be well under 20 days because that's when majority of the real estate transactions happen for the year. So that's usually typical, but this year has been an exception with all the things that we just discussed. Now, I'm gonna, take you guys to the charts. We're not gonna dive too deeper. We already discussed quite a bit of these numbers, but we will still take a high level look at it. So sales by property types, you can see like majority of single families followed by towns and the condos. We looked at that. Average sales price, we did look at it. And this is what I meant. In the short run, honestly, it's not gonna paint a true picture for you. But if you see in the long run, so let's say if you were to compare last from 2022 to 5, you can see there's clear, like from the peak of the market, we are far, we have come down quite a bit, right? So that's what it gives you a good indication in the long run for each property type. So I'm not saying it's a useless indicator, but in the short run, it's not going to be as helpful to indicate where the prices are heading, right? Followed by the median sales price. Again, it's more so, dependent on the volume, what type of homes did sell in a particular month. It's not as relevant of a number to know what's happening in the market. Average days on market, we have seen like it has gone down from 27 to 24. If you look at the, basically the beginning of this year, that's when things are usually slow, from 33 days all the way to 24. But like I said, anything over 20 is still, and keep in mind, this is average, right? It's not taking into factors like there are homes that might be sold within 2 weeks, but then there are homes that are sitting for much longer than that. So, average days on market, we all know like it's taking well over 4 weeks right now to get something off the shelf, provided the fact that you, as a seller, you have priced it well, you have done your great job at staging, marketing, everything, right, from top to start to finish, and then you are realistic with your price expectation and willing to work with the buyers, meet them in the middle ground. All those factors considered, that's what I would say those properties, and you have a good property, turnkey property that is move-in ready, has all the great things like modern kitchen. Buyers are looking for this market, right? They're not interested in moving into a house and having to upgrade the kitchen or finish the basement or, update the flooring because, it's worn out. This kind of market, when you have over 2,000 homes in the market, guess what? Buyers do have a lot of choices. And if they don't find what they're looking for, which is move-in ready, they might end up skipping your home just because of the fact that, they don't want to deal with any of those work after they move in. Months of supply, just see how it shot up from December to now. You can see it's like a straight line, right? From December, 2 months, very good. Sellers were still, you can say, arguably in control. And now, like over close to 4.5 months of supply. So that's a massive supply in the market. And I can tell you, like, definitely every month that passes by, it is creating that price pressure on this excess inventory that's been sitting on the market for longer than usual. So if this continues this way, we should see some pressure on the prices. But again, things could change. Like we could see the news coming out from the government and, the tariff situation, the economic uncertainty. Once they settle down, I do feel things may not be as slow as they are right now. We might see more buyers coming back from the fence to the market. So that might absorb some of this excess inventory that we are seeing these days. But let no one tell you that it's going to be anywhere near what we saw at the peak of the market. At least I don't expect it. And I would, suggest don't buy into any FOMO that, you don't buy this year, you're going to be priced out because at some point these things are going to settle down and prices are going to shoot up. Nothing like that. At least I don't see it. No one knows, but at least I don't see in all reality. We don't see that coming anytime soon. And that's why I say this is a good time. New listing, 1,600 new listings. And again, you can see a straight line that's shooting up, right? And you know why? Because new listings do come up, but at the same time, the problem with this year is the fact that despite more new listings coming out every single month, buyers have pretty much vanished. Investors have vanished from the market. Virtually, I hardly come across any investors wanting to flip or wanting to get that positive cash flow or anything like that, right?
So that's what's contributing to that sharp increase in the new listings every month and homes for sale. Like I said, over 2,000, 2,200 homes currently on sale as of this report in the Waterloo region. That's a massive inventory. So lots of options for the buyers in this current market. Dollar volume, again, you can see the volumes overall for transactions. Activity is down, so the volume is going to be down. And you can see it's much lower compared to, if we were to compare to the peak of the market. But generally speaking, even for this season, so far what we are seeing, the activity and the volumes are fairly slow.
So now that we have looked at these numbers, I am going to continue and share my 2 cents of how I would respond to this type of market conditions if I was a buyer or if I was a seller. And again, this is in no way, this is a real estate advice. If you are especially working with a real estate agent, continue to do so because they would know more than I would about your situation. But general overview of how I would respond to this kind of market. Well, first of all, if you are a buyer in this kind of a market, then know that you have a lot of options, okay? This kind of conditions did not exist for a buyer, and I have continued to say it in my previous videos, but it is the fact. This kind of conditions did not exist for a very long time if you look at the last few years. So you have a ton of great options around you. 2,200 listings currently on the market is like a lot of options to choose from, and market is forgiving to you. And so do not let anyone sell you out of FOMO and say, well, if you don't buy it, we got 2 offers or 5 offers. Let me tell you this, just this between my last update and this update, I have been part of multiple offer situation where there were 10 offers, and guess what? The home still sold conditionally. So you don't have to go firm. Do your due diligence. Use your negotiating tactic. Work with your agent. We do work with our clients to, really nail down the negotiating tactics, how we want to approach the offer, and how we want to go about it. Because in a shifting market, things could end up in the seller's favor sometimes. So it's very important to know and understand what exactly you want to do and how you want to approach it to your best interest. Just to give an example, if you were to look at a particular home in the market right now, I can tell you there are not as many comparables in the market because there are not as many sales happening. So do not let a listing agent tell your agent or you that, the home on the street just sold for, $50K over of this price, because since we don't have a lot of recent comparables available, it gets a bit tricky. So it's very important that, you work with an agent that knows how to negotiate in your best interest and not just lure away with what the comps that sellers are giving away, because those comps might be from December or January when we saw the months of inventory was just over 2 months. So the market conditions were drastically different, but now the market conditions we all know are materially different and in favor of buyers. So just use that to your advantage. And all I would say is just don't rush into it. One of the common questions I do get asked again is from a lot of these buyers that I work with, are the prices going to continue going down? And if so, should we wait? Well, frankly speaking, I don't know the answer to that. If the prices are going to continue downwards, yes, they could. Okay. There is a possibility that we could see some price declines in the coming months. But typically in a slow market, we see what we call the peaks and valleys. So, when the market activity picks up during the time of the year, we do see the prices to pick up and then again go down, right? So it's going to be hard to time the market, and, virtually speaking, it's not possible, at least for me. Maybe there is an agent who can help you time the market and find the bottom of the market, but at least I can tell you that I don't have that ability to really time the market and tell you this is the lowest you can get. What I can tell you is if you are going to stay in the home for at least 5 years, I would say have that kind of a time horizon. If it is any way shorter than that, then I don't suggest that you even consider buying something. You need to have a longer time horizon to, even if there was to have those peaks and valleys, like the ups and downs with the shifting market, it will not affect you as much, and you will likely come out positive when it's time for you to move in about 5 years from now. So that's my advice for buyers. For the sellers, the things are materially different than for the buyers. I mean, the market is not as forgiving to sellers. In fact, it is very unforgiving. Just this past week, we put an offer on one of the properties, and it was a preemptive offer. It was a good offer, okay? But the home was just on the market for only 3 days. So seller agent did respond back and said, well, we are going to wait for our offer day because we are getting a handful of showings. Just know that more showings or a ton of people going to your open houses don't necessarily mean or translate into more offers. So if you get something on the table, do take a closer look and try to work with it as much as possible. I mean, if it's a complete lowball offer, garbage offer with crazy conditions, okay, yeah, don't entertain it. But if it's somewhere near where you are willing to settle, then this is the kind of the market where you might need to have that flexibility to get the property off the shelf, because the fact of the matter is buyers do have a lot of options. And that agent, the reason I gave you that example is because that agent did approach me back on the offer day, and guess what, we had already put an offer on something else. So we are like, well, we are no longer interested in this particular property because my client had 3 properties lined up, and they're like, if this doesn't work out, we are going to go with this, and so on, right? So they are in control. They have a ton of options. So as a seller, it's very important for you to know that you will need to be flexible. You will need to be patient, and you must work with an agent that knows what they're doing. And again and again, I've said it out: marketing, pricing, everything. You have to be on the same page, and more so the communication will be the key to keep you updated on what's really happening, what's moving in and around you, so you can make the informed choice if time comes for you to adjust the price or relist or whatever that may be. But that's my 2 cents. We are going to continue monitoring the market conditions as we continue to get this monthly market updates. And in fact, I might just pop out one more video in between, when the inflation data comes out, the job market data comes out, so you guys can keep your pulse on what's happening in and around the KWC market. But if you got some value, then be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and tap on that bell. And I'm very easy to talk to if you want to dive deeper into this report or want to have a discussion. Just trust me, I'm not going to chase you guys and try to sell you something if you're not ready. If you want to just have a high-level dialogue, I'm open to it. All my info is right below. You can reach out to me. But nonetheless, whether you buy or sell or decide not to do something, I wish you guys a great summer. And whether you are thinking of moving in 9 days or 90 days, be sure to reach out. I'll be more than happy to help you and family relocate in and around Kitchener-Waterloo. Until next time, well, I will continue to show you guys around the town.